Welcome to the Crystal Water Experience podcast with me, Dr. Joe Whitaker, and today I have Danielle Rickwood, who is an abdominal therapist. Now, I've known Danielle for a couple of years, and we have spoke about many topics from Kangen water to energy therapies and very many topics around this. But I've brought Danielle on today because she is a worldwide traveller. She has so much experience in this field that she's been requested all around the world to work in this particular field. But when you hear abdominal therapist, you think, what does that entail? Because the abdominal cavity is like, well, there's lots of things going on there. So rather than me clumsily explaining what this is all about, Danielle is here to bring you this knowledge. As I do on this podcast, I bring a new therapist or healer or someone with knowledge that you may not have heard of before in many different fields so that you can start to see that the world around you isn't just about doctor's surgeries and what you learnt at school. These are skills for life, and that's why I bring on the best experts for you to learn this stuff from. So welcome, Danielle.
Thank you very much, Joe. Very, very happy to be here and loving our background here. Not background, we actually are
We
here.
are there,
We
yeah.
are here,
Let's not
yes.
spoil. So for the people on the podcast, we have, in fact, yeah, Danielle, what is the image behind us?
The image behind us is it's Mayan ruins, and that kind of ties in beautifully with the two things Joe's mentioned there, which is traveling, but also working with ancient healing. So Mayan culture has played a huge role in my journey to health and happiness with my belly. And to now be able to bring this to countless others around the globe has been an absolute joy, and it continues to be so. But yeah, Mayan culture, Mayan self-care practices are things that I bring in still into sessions, and I learnt this beautiful stuff probably about 20 years ago. So yeah, it's pretty apt to have that as a background.
Oh, that's very unique. You hear like people maybe bringing in Egyptian practices and things like this, but to actually you share experiences of the Mayan culture and what they said is really fantastic. So thank you very much for being here today. And as you've been in this for 20 years, I wonder if you could explain your journey. I mean, what started this off? This is not even, it's not mainstream, but it isn't even on kind of most people's path. But the work that you do, and I've seen for myself, and I've heard lots of your case studies, is absolutely incredible. So where did it start 20 years ago?
Doctor's surgery. Where all great journeys begin. Yeah, I was many, many years having really, really difficult periods, really, really tricky menstrual cycles. And I went to the doctor to try and get some more testing done to find out what was going on. I was pretty much told that if I didn't have surgery within that week, that I would not be able to have children. And this was out without even having a proper diagnosis. There was just an assumption because of the painful periods. And if I didn't go down the surgery route or the medication route, that I would jeopardize any chance of becoming a mum. I politely declined the offer, said I needed a bit of space just to think about it. And I spent the next 9 months, actually. It's a gestational period, but no, it wasn't trying to create a baby and have a baby. Just really exploring and researching other ways to restore health and harmony back to that part of my body. And the Alvigo techniques, which I still use to this day, are fundamental to most of my sessions with clients, whether it's in clinic or teaching it through courses. So yeah, it began in the doctor's surgery. I have been in and out of doctor's surgeries for various other bits and pieces, but really just use it as a tool to gather information. I also attend appointments with specialists and GPs with clients as well. And that's kind of just something I'm really keen to share in our conversation with Joe today, is just that finding empowerment and confidence in attending meetings with specialists and doctors and not walking away with a label is really key, because what are you without a label? And that's a whole different area for me with my treatments and sessions with clients now. So, but it does begin with the fundamentals of just physical health, but we tend to go a little bit out of that realm as well. So yeah.
Thank you very much for that. There's a couple of things there that we should delve into. The first one is you said a word quite quickly, Arvego,
Arvigo.
Arvigo,
Arvigo.
which let's park that just for a minute because a lot of people haven't heard that word. I haven't heard that word before, so I'd be interested to know what that means. So we'll dive into that. I
Yeah.
suspect that's a bit of a rabbit hole, so we'll park that for a second. But what you're saying is, you know, when you go to the general practitioner, and that's what they are, they have a very broad knowledge, but they don't have a deep knowledge, and that's why they then refer to specialists. And therefore, because they haven't really got the testing equipment, they've got like books they go through, just this box, this box, this box is probably this. And really, their whole kind of system is based on putting you on a treatment path that involves either surgery or medication. That's what their job is. Their job, I mean, they do say, well, maybe do have better diet and exercise, and maybe here's a leaflet, but that isn't their role. And anyone that believes that that is their role, you go in to get the wrong information from your GP, because their role isn't to do anything other than that. So, and they're also very busy. You've got to be in that appointment for 10 minutes and that's it. And you can only raise 2 issues. And so they're very stressed as well. So they've got to fill this, they've got quotas to hit, they've got, targets that they have to meet in terms of the amount of medication that they prescribe, the amount of turnover of the business, because they are all businesses. So it's not that they are doing anything wrong. It's like they're not there to give you all of the holistic advice you need for your particular ailment. That is what their job is. And what you're saying is you very bravely, even though they put you in quite a fear mode, they told you about, that this was terrible, and everyone shuts down and goes, oh my gosh, my doctor said it's urgent. Well, from his perspective and his pathway, it is. But it isn't necessarily if you had like a holistic view of it. So I wonder if you can explain during that. Well, first of all, let's kind of cut to the chase. Did you manage to sort this out without going down the radical route?
Yes. Yes, I did. Yeah.
So there was an alternative. It's just the GP isn't trained to know what that is.
Absolutely.
Simple as that, isn't it? So that's why they give you a perspective, but you don't have to take that perspective. And so you were talking about them being an advocate for people. And we've had a conversation last night about people turning up for, meetings with specialists or even the GP, but not doing any research themselves, apart from maybe on Google. And it's like, that's not, you're going to get, maybe the answer's right or maybe it's not, right? It's 50-50. And then when you go in there unarmed with information, you'll either be funneled or you'll be scared if you don't funnel, but you can't really ask the right questions. So I wonder if you can just share some of that support that you've held for others and kind of elaborate on what I've just said.
Yeah, I think one of the key things is just giving yourself space and grace. So it's to not necessarily shut down a conversation or a suggestion to have surgery or take medication, is to just be able to walk out of that appointment armed with the information. That's really what it is. They're just giving you more information for you to then discern. That's been a word, hasn't it, this morning? Just being discerning over that. And if you've got more questions, then you can ask around, you can do a little bit more research. But I think just to take the pressure off, if you're feeling coerced or you're made to feel stupid, which I get a lot of my people that I work with saying that they did it because they didn't feel they had any other options. And I think it's just so important with what Joe does with the podcast. It is showing you that there are other options out there. Whether you choose to take them is up to you. It comes down to there being a deep resonance within you, which is why I ended up in that sort of place. Never thought I would, but it just resonated. I didn't fully understand what it was all about, but I did a little bit of research around it, and it was Dr. Rosita Arvigo, as a little tie in there with the Arvigo technique. So Dr. Rosita Arvigo has studied and trained in Belize. She's a naturopathic doctor by trade, and was, again, resonated. There was a calling for her to learn and discover more about what it was that the Mayan women were doing to overcome a number of reproductive and menstrual health challenges. So she moved her entire family down to Belize. She spent a lot of time with a local shaman. And for me, a shaman, oh gosh, being a girl from Surrey in the UK, that's quite an unusual thing to, like, what is a shaman? But I studied over in Belize with Rosita, who was given this shaman, gave her blessing to continue to use these practices outside of the Mayan culture. I personally am very, very grateful to be able to have used so much of the wisdom and the incredible natural practices that Mayan women use. And in a nutshell, the Arvigo techniques work with the 5 channels of flow that service the belly area. You've got the venous flow, and you've got your arterial flow. The word's gone. Venous flow, and there's 5 channels of flow, but basically the 2 channels of flow through your big blue vein in your body, and then the big red vein that travel through the diaphragm, servicing the belly. And for most of us with our busy lives, that becomes severely sort of impacted through just a tight diaphragm. So you've got reduced blood flow entering the belly space, you've got reduced flow moving out. So you've got this imbalance already in this belly. You've got less of the good stuff entering the belly space, and more of the yucky stuff that's carried in your venous supply just sitting in the belly space. So it really doesn't matter if you are eating all the best organic food, you're doing all the wonderful things, if ultimately that diaphragm is really, really, really tight around those really important channels of flow. So that's 2 of them. The other 3 are, well, 2 more physical ones. So you've got your lymph system and that inguinal lymph space. So those, if you had your knickers on, you'd sort of see the lines there. That's, you've got lymph nodes that sit deep within the abdominal cavity. You've got the lymph nodes that sit close to the surface. Again, if they are being restricted and constricted by tight underwear, tight clothing, again, you can be doing all the marvelous, wonderful things, but ultimately that lymph system is battling against tight clothing. Again, appreciate we don't live in a beautiful Mayan climate where we can walk around with sarongs on. We do live in colder climates where we chuck all the clothes on, the tights, the boots, all that sort of stuff. So our lymph system gets an absolute hammering as well. So that's the 3rd one. The 4th channel of flow is coming from the back of the body. So we're looking at spinal health, hip alignment, and making sure that the information highway between the brain and that part of the body is free of traffic. So those messages are getting around to the belly space, and the belly space is able to transmit the messages back up. And then the 5th channel of flow is energy, chi, ki, however you want to see it. It's that field that sits off the physical body. This is the one that I love working with. It can feel a little bit alien to a lot of people, but I really enjoy it. And the way that I describe it is, yes, it's how we consume foods, it's how we consume all of those sort of physical things, but for me, it's how someone has consumed their life experiences, where they are sitting in the body, and then where they are showing up as a physical challenge, a physical ailment. So that's where sessions become really interesting, not just for me, but for the people that I work with, because we're now working with aspects of themselves that probably they hope they could probably skip around. Again, it's not to scare people off, but it's like, great, so if I don't change my diet, or if I change my diet, that's not necessarily going to work for me. No, you are special. You're being asked to take it up to the next level, the next notch. Yeah, that's where it becomes really, really interesting. So the Arvigo techniques are those 5 channels of flow, the cardiovascular 2 channels, the lymph system, the nerve system, and also then your energetic system as well. So yeah, very special. It's very unique still. There's still not many of us that actually practice the Alvigo techniques. So I thought within sort of 20 years, I'd be traveling less, but I travel more.
That's amazing. And that makes so much sense in terms of, those areas all being important. And this is where holistic really stands out in this case, because tackling one thing isn't going to necessarily solve the problem. And it's very interesting you're talking about the chi, and hopefully people who are watching the other podcasts that I've done are starting to see a pattern here. There are there are many people talking about how trauma's stuck in the body, how our body holds on to trauma, how it holds on to what and negative experiences, and this affects your physical health. It actually manifests in there, and this is definitely not taught to by GPs and Western medicine. And we're not saying it. I think the reason why I really love what you've said is the fact that you looking at that holistically is very important, because also if you clear something kind of on the energetic channel side of things, but then you don't fix something else that's going physically wrong, then you're not necessarily going to get the results that you want. So it's a really beautiful combination of the physical and the also the chi energy. Now, for those of you who are skeptical about energy flow in your body, you, I talk about this a lot. We are made up of magnetic fields, and the physical aspect of us is electric. You can't get magnetism without electricity. You can't get electricity without magnetism, basically. Everything is based of magnetic fields. And to discount that just because you can't see it is, you might as well put your phone in the bin because you can't see Wi-Fi. Or you can't see radio stations, like Radio 1's floating past us now. And we're just not tuning into it, just choosing not to. But we could if we turned it on. So this is a very, very important part of our being, how we are actually made. But it goes beyond the physical level, and all sciences in the UK are, whether it's medicine or, biology, physics, whatever, or even quantum physics, it's all based on physical, that's what they call it, physical sciences, right? And they don't look at that quantum level, like what is that made up of? So I hope people haven't switched off at this point if they're wondering about chi energy, because I think people need in our country need to know a lot more about this, because it's so important. So thank you very much for raising that awareness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what? And the other topic I really want you to delve into is what you're seeing in terms of reproductive health and problems with cycles and things like this. Please don't switch off, Mem, because you're probably involved
Yep.
with a woman, right? And maybe you hearing this rather than her might help her find an alternative strategy, because my experience of people with kind of chronic conditions in this area is the medical establishment find it very difficult to solve if they ever do. And it tends to be quite, there are quite serious consequences, which, by the way, will then affect you. So this, in the end, whether it's about moods, whether it's about hospitalizations, whether it's about being able to function well as a woman, this will affect you. So if this resonates on that level, don't leave it, because at some point it's going to come back to bite your ass.
Literally.
So have you seen like a change or an increase or a decrease in this regard? You just said you're traveling more. What's going on? What are you seeing?
Just interestingly, with regard to just the men, it's actually a beautiful way just to introduce the menstrual cycle. So I've got a number of men who have daughters. So again, whether you've got a daughter or not, but I get a lot of them asking me, especially if they're single parenting, they're like, I've got my daughters for the weekend. I have no idea, what moods they're going to be in. So to be able to explain the intricacies and the workings of a menstrual cycle to a male is very beneficial, whether you're a partner, whether you're a dad of daughters. But I would say that in the last 20 years, with regard to understanding the not so the complexities, but the intricacies of the menstrual cycle, of reproductive health, of our organs, it's been a bumpy ride. I would have hoped that after 20 years, there would be some changes. I do recognise, having travelled all over, that the UK is still a little bit behind on various things, and a lot of it does involve the sort of the energy aspect of it, which is still quite alien to people. So for me, again, sort of the topics of the day, probably in the last 5 years as well, that has been challenging also as a practitioner, to really champion the health and well-being of the female organs, the uterus, the ovaries, the fallopian tubes. And again, we go back to that idea of labels. So I will have people come to see me and they say, you know, I've been diagnosed with fibroids, I've been diagnosed with this, I've been diagnosed with that. And it is really special to bring that person back to the vibration, the presence of an actual organ. I'm like, she's actually going through that with you. Let's give her her power back by taking the energy and the language away from the label. So you've got, rather, I'm saying, you know, I'm an endo warrior. I'm saying I'm on team uterus. Like, which team do you want to be on? Because we're about lifting the vibration, the frequency, the health and well-being, if you like, of that organ by not giving airtime to the symptom or the diagnosis that has landed in her world as well. So that is kind of a bit of an aha moment for a lot of women that I work with, because they haven't made that realization, that connection. Like, there's actually an organ or a physical part of me that is being impacted by this. It's not just the label that I've been given. How can I get to know that organ better? So again, we're working with the frequency, the vibration, the personality, if you like, of those different organs. And for me, working with the belly, obviously you've got your key organs, but it's just, that is it's a simple way for people to look beyond the heaviness of a diagnosis or a condition or a symptom, is to bring a lightness to it again and look at the liver as whatever they consider him to be. But that means you need to learn about what he does, like what is his role. The uterus, what is her role? What does she do? What, you know, if she was a friend, what would be her qualities? It's just, it's kind of just removing that heaviness, which again can be another energetic layer. When we're given a diagnosis as well, that can add to the trauma around it. And again, it's just this, again, I keep using the word vibration, but it's that field that becomes distorted with all this negativity and heaviness. So to be able to bring back the lightness to it, to bring back the again, sort of the energy aspects, the spiritual aspects of our experience here as humans, that's where the real turn is in someone's journey towards feeling a lot lighter, a lot brighter. Again, we can do the diets, we can kind of take the physical load off the body, but it's the emotional weight, which is probably one of the biggest areas for me now, is to look at how to work with the emotional load on the physical body, which is then kicking off with the physical symptoms. And one of the things that I am using a lot more is biofrequency technology, so quantum technology. This is why Joe and I click, and no conversations off the table, no topics off the table, but working with this aspect is extremely beneficial as well, because it again gently introduces what that's all about. It gives someone an experience to appreciate how that can work. Sometimes it's very difficult to put into words. It needs to be assimilated and experienced. And then even then, I don't expect someone to come back to me, how do you feel? What does it? I'm like, the responses in those symptoms no longer having a playground to play in because the vibration is lifted. Those icky, sticky things, like an environment that is dramatic, it's toxic, it's negative. And when you are lifting that space into high vibration, that can't exist. Therefore, the symptoms that would normally thrive in that environment can't. They'll either up their game, shift their vibration, their frequency to be a part of that, or you release it. And again, there are plenty of things now in the last 20 years that are less foreign to people, like breath work, yoga, meditation, grounding, all these things that I was talking about 20 years ago and had people just either wide-eyed or rolling their eyes, is now sort of part and parcel, even over sort of in this part of the world as well, which is absolutely lovely to see. But to be able to bring those aspects into someone's day-to-day is lovely as well. So I think people can get a little bit like, oh gosh, you know, if I go and see Danielle, am I going to be given more to do? It's like, just tell me what you are doing, and we can look at ways how we can effectively, if we're working with the menstrual cycle, bring in your love of nature, or your love of this, or your love of, I don't know, a Zumba class. It's like, when do I do that to get the most benefit? When is my body vibrating, and where can I meet it in alignment to do that? Because a lot of people are doing that class all through their cycle. The body is needing it to change it up a little bit. So rather than doing that, they swap that and they go for a nice walk. So I still like to move my body, but it's just honoring the different requirements, different needs, the changing needs of the cycle, emotionally, mentally, physically, energetically. That again is still, it's less foreign now, but I still come up against people who are just like, I get it, but I'm still not able to apply that. I'll still push through. I'll still think I'm still in that mode all the way through my cycle. And again, it's like, how is that working out for you? And well, clearly not great, because you've come to me with a whole list of symptoms, or I'm trying all the things. This is still not, this is the one piece that is still sticking. What am I missing? And it always comes back to energy, frequency. It's going there or not. And again, you don't have to. You absolutely don't have to. You can keep kind of, putting the plasters on and just keep going in that way. But again, it's going to come out and bite you on the ass. So it's all good. You can start now, or you can start down the track, or never. Completely up to you. But you can't avoid it. It's there. It's there. It's there for you to tap into or not.
It's interesting, really interesting what you're saying, because our world is set up that, people either go to school or college 5 days a week, or work 5 days a week, and then you get 2 days off. And it's an endless cycle. And then you randomly go on holiday for a few days here, there, and everywhere. And it really doesn't fit into the lunar cycle of anything. And we know that the calendars have been changed, and I think you've just really, because a lot of people know, maybe who listen to my podcast, that they've been changed and they've messed around with it, but they don't fundamentally understand the impact of what that is, and that the fundamental impact really is on women. I mean, men do also have these cycles, but the massive impact is on half of the population, and that is, I personally am very suspicious of the moon, and people might have heard that before, but definitely it doesn't ring true to me that every month, we're supposed to bleed and be in pain. That doesn't make any logical sense in terms of, having a divine human experience. So trying to make that as well as possible under the circumstances is something that our lifestyles then don't allow us to do. This is really is attack on 50% of the population, and it's never really talked about because of that 50% of population probably being pushed down all the time in that sense. Instead, it's been kind of turned into something completely different. And I think it's really interesting what you said about thinking about your organs, and I love the way that you've reframed it. I mean, you've got a choice, really. It's like, can I learn scientifically what all these things do and connect at that level and feel comfortable? Now I can, because of my vast training. I love getting into the details and the names, but you don't have to. You can then see these things as energetic and what is their job to do energetically, and it's a kind of more kind of energetic way of experiencing layman's terms. And a lot of people resonate with that more. You don't have to learn complicated. It's very hard to remember all the words. But if you can understand energetically what they are doing, whether, they're cleansing things or moving things or growing a tree, in those kind of more simple terms, that's what you better need to know. And then the final thing about what you've said is, as you were speaking, I was starting to think about the organs in my body, and I was like, "Oh, liver, you're amazing." And then bladder, because we had a conversation last night. So, do I need to go to the loo in the middle of the night? I was like, no. And when I woke up this morning, and I was like, I'm so happy, bladder, and being able to that pelvic floor. I said, well, I'm really grateful to you, because obviously not everyone has this great experience. And you start then connecting to these, really important parts of yourself, which you just take for granted and just go, oh, it's not working, let's go to the
Hmm.
doctors and get a pill and see if it works, which it never
Hmm.
fixes it, does it? And we're really energetically ignoring these amazing things
Hmm.
going on inside us. And then as a woman, the only time we notice we have a uterus is like once a month, and we're like, oh,
Hmm. Hmm.
we don't connect to any of the positive stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how are you seeing more issues with, say, fertility and menstrual cycle stability?
Yeah, because the attack continues. It's heightened. And just just as a side note, the reverence around those organs is I'm glad, but again, you have to bring someone's attention to it. Because it just reminds me when I was in clinic and I'd had a delivery, and the reception said, "We just had a delivery for you." I just had a one-on-one session with a male client who was out at reception, and I knew what was in this package, and I thought, I'm going to open it up while he's here. So I opened it up, and it was a plush of a uterus. So it's like a squishy toy, which I wanted to use in workshops. And I got it out, and the receptionist sort of again was just raising an eyebrow, and I sort of held it up, and he was just like, "Ooh, so is that what I think it is?" But he had this look of like, "Ooh,"
Discuss.
and I'm like, "Wow." I said, "Well, if it wasn't for this little lady, you wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be here, I wouldn't be here, your wife wouldn't be able to carry your child," which is his face was just like, wow. He messaged me the next day, and he said he went home to his pregnant wife and just literally hands on her belly and just thanked that womb.
Wow.
And he said it completely reframed. I got goosebumps saying it. How he viewed, ew, disgusting. That's the one that like bleeds everywhere, and ooh, we don't talk about that in our house. I'm thinking, oh, she is the reason you're here. She's the reason we are all here, in a natural way, and it's amazing. But again, without making him feel bad, it was just planting that seed and just having him make that connection, because it wasn't there. It was just again the the it was really powerful, really, really powerful. So yeah, I haven't got it with me, but that little, in fact, I do. I travel with her, and I've got the two ovaries, her little friends as well. And often, if that's going through an airport security, that raises a few eyebrows, and it's maybe a few friends as well with some of the female security who are like, "Wow, is that what we think it is?" I was like, "Yes, it is." And yeah, it's not stuffed with anything dodgy, so we're all good.
That's what makes women so incredibly special in this whole thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying men are not special, but women are very special. They are, the creators of this world. There wouldn't be anything without them.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we've got this whole feminism thing, which is all about can everyone, compete at the same level in
Mm-hmm.
sports and have the same jobs. And it's completely missing the point
Mm-hmm.
about
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
this kind of divine gift.
Yeah.
And it's been, you can see it kind of being attacked on many levels. I mean, of course, men are being attacked in this way. There'll be a podcast on it. If you're a man, you want to come on the podcast and you want to work out how you've been attacked, brilliant. Let's have a chat. Let's talk about this bit for now, right? Because it is the having that and going through that cycle. I mean, it really should be massively respected.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, you bring life into this world. You have to go through this on this, this kind of painful cycle as well because of the kind of world we live in. What can I do to help you that?
Mm-hmm.
Because your role here is so important as
Mm-hmm.
a creator. And it isn't just popping out sprogs. It's literally, I mean, it is literally the creator of the human soul vehicle for us to exist in. It's way
Mm-hmm.
bigger. And then also that is all in the animal kingdom, but
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
tends to be the big male lions and things with the big heads, and everyone's looking at them hunting, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, where do you, where do you think he came from?
Yeah.
And this whole shift, hopefully, in human consciousness can happen, maybe as a result of this, where people really think about their mothers, their sisters, their aunts, their daughters, and like give thanks to that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm not saying it because I am a woman, because
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I will do the male podcast and we'll bring that in.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a big thing and it is the thing that distinguishes us and it is the only thing that we can do. So therefore, it is a very special thing. And we'll find the one for men on that podcast. So look forward to hearing from you to apply for that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
So thank you very much for bringing us, that awareness. I really appreciate that.
Mm.
And really, as growing up, I never really have. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I would say actually that's one of the things that has been very noticeable over 20 years is that what you've described there is that generation thing. And my mum didn't teach me that. I've had to go out into the world and learn for myself. That has definitely changed. There are definitely more access to, I mean, gosh, I think moon circles and women's circles were not really a thing in the mainstream. It's kind of a cool thing now. Um, I would say probably what I'm feeling there's a request for is to move into your higher potential. So people are kind of getting the self-care practices in. They are understanding how the menstrual cycle works. Not everybody, but there is definitely an increase in awareness and application of various things. But again, working with going back to frequency is lifting the potential of that what does that look like at the next level, because society is still going to come along and try to mess things up, which we've definitely felt over the last 5 to 10 years. And doesn't that just show us how incredibly powerful that we are? They're having to do all these things to just keep smashing us down, and we keep rising to the top. And again, to be able to access even more incredible gifts is definitely something that speaks to my heart and soul at the moment. Is yes, the self-care practices are amazing, all the physical stuff's great, and to be able to just see the progression through, which are incredibly important things to remind ourselves of, that doctor specialists are brilliant at giving us the black and white. So that's what the situation is now. That's the lay of the land at the moment with regard to your bloods, where your uterus is sitting, what's going on there. And again, the 9-month journey for me was not to have the surgery that was pushed upon me, but to have another ultrasound to get those tests done to see what had shifted. So great to go into the same lady to get that done, request that, and to then sit with her with the results. She did say that she had to ask the receptionist, could you just check we have got the right results, because they're quite different. She said, no, they're definitely the results. And she said, well, whatever you have been doing, keep doing it because it's worked. She didn't want to know. But as I was going out into reception, the receptionist said, my daughters are struggling a lot with some menstrual cycle stuff. Could we have your business card? So I went on to treat her daughters.
That's
That's
amazing.
how it works.
That's how it was. And you're very much word of mouth, aren't you? You're
Yeah,
very, very much in
yeah,
demand.
very much. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so where do you work, just to give people an idea?
Physically, it's like when people say, where do you live? It's like,
Well, I know it's not one
Hmm.
place.
Um, yes, so for me, it is the work that has me travel so much. Hence, the home base isn't such a big thing for me. But physically, to see people to do hands-on work, I work in the UK. I've got practice in London, all over, Bristol, Cornwall, and up in Northumberland. And then I also travel to Australia for part of the year, and I see clients there in the key cities, Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney.
Hmm.
I do a lot of online stuff, a lot of frequency work, which doesn't require me to have anyone present. So that has been a game changer as well.
That's amazing. I think with all of these technologies, and for those who haven't heard yet, I do explain the kind of quantum nature of these handheld devices, our mobile phones and our computers, which can be used for the good and the bad. But they're amazing
Mm.
equipments where we can like communicate, but you can also send messages. And I don't know if you work like that in that sense, but you know that if you can do it by a computer, then you don't need necessarily a computer to do it.
Mm.
But the beautiful thing is you can work
Mm.
online, find out information, and then do it however then that information passes.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like a real thing. And at
Mm-hmm.
first, when I started hearing about quantum healing and things like this, it didn't really make sense to me because I didn't understand it. Now I can understand how it works. Yeah, I try and explain to people that this is kind of how it works, and then that gets their head around it. So if you want to hear my explanation on that, I've done several episodes on this, so please look back on previous podcasts, and perhaps I'll keep bringing it up because it's the future. Frequency
Mm-hmm.
medicine, quantum healing. is the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be as complicated as it is now.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
which is wonderful. So, with maybe you can give some sort of list out the type of things because we don't want to just want to be careful of the medical mafia probably the mafia police like having a look and listening to this podcast and wondering whether we're allowed to say it, so we'll refrain from the same cures, but what we'll say is what shifts
Hmm.
have you seen in patients that have come to see you? So what was they before and
Hmm.
then what did you see them after?
Mm. I, I think because of my own personal journey with suspected endometriosis, that is a big drawing card. So I get quite a few women coming through who have had that come up and fibroids as well. And again, we're not using the word cure, we are using language that is giving, I said, the power back to those organs that are affected. So for me to say, if someone comes in with endometriosis, and for me, it's sort of working with them over a number of months with the cycle. Again, we have to give it, a few goes. The proof is in the pudding with them coming back and say, the pain has gone to here, the pain is no longer, don't even have pain, I've found peace with it. So that is kind of where we go. Those that potentially don't.
So just on that, so
Yeah.
you're really good at getting the client to get as much data,
Yeah.
physical, hardcore,
Hmm.
results-driven
Hmm.
data at the beginning. You like go, they're probably giving you something, get it all, get your
Yes.
copies
Yep.
because you want to
Yep.
see before and after.
Yep.
You just feeling better isn't very much of like
Yep.
a case study for you. So which is
Yes.
one
Yep.
indicator. And then you do your stuff and you give them
Yes.
the advice, they
Hmm.
do their stuff, they do their
Yep.
work. And then you ask them then to go and get
Yep.
actual physical results from the doctors.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because it helps everybody. It helps me. It helps them. It also helps the GP specialist just plants a seed there. Whether it gets watered, I don't know, but it's that proof in the pudding of yes, feeling better, but also initially when you ask someone, could you please send me through your pelvic ultrasound results? Could you please send me through this? They're like, I don't know if I have that. Do I have that? That is the bit that you can work on. That's the bit that you can own. It's like, do I have the right to have that? Do I have access to that? Absolutely. Some people have it there and then, have folders of it, but that is starting that journey of working alongside these other professionals. I think we were speaking that about before, is in partnership with what they're amazing at, and then what we're amazing at, and then that absolute focus, which is the person that is currently struggling and being challenged. So it kind of, yeah, you're working with egos as well a lot of the time, but putting all that to one side, there are some good people in those parts of the medical world. Amazing. They're still quite rare, but to work in partnership with them, I'm doing it at the moment with family members, just working in partnership with their medical teams. And it's a mutual respect for what we all do. I work with the Royal Women's Hospital in Melbourne with certain gynecologists. And because they are intrigued by what I do, I have full respect for what they do, and we work together. I'm able to attend appointments with clients who are seeing those gynecologists. I've been given a list of gynecologists to just avoid because absolutely no point. But the person that's getting the best outcome is the patient, which is amazing, which is what it should always be about, but kind of perhaps lost sight of that a little bit for many other reasons. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's kind of seeing is believing. I interviewed a lady who completely changed her life path. She was a nurse and she was supposed to be assisting a in an operation. And the surgeon said, she said, he said, sorry, oh, we've got one of those woo-woo kind of hippies coming in today, just to let you know. And she said, well, why, what's going on? He says, well, she doesn't want any anesthetic. She's just going to do it all by acupuncture. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, they had a carpal tunnel surgery, which is excruciatingly painful. It's actually one of the most painful surgeries you can have without any anesthetic and with the acupuncturist being there, oh, I can start to feel it now, switching it off. That at the end, that completely transformed everyone's life because the nurse was like, right, I'm out of nursing because the world isn't what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And the surgeon just carried on, right?
Yeah.
So that's all that we
Yeah.
can do
Can do.
because we're kind of kept in silos,
Yeah.
like with data that's published as well. I mean, a lot of data and information that these very busy doctors have is all performed by the drug industry, whereas there's loads of other research outside of that they never get to see because they don't get time, so therefore they don't research it, and they're not encouraged to either because that isn't what their kind of part of the jigsaw is.
Yeah.
So I think that's really interesting that you're able to challenge that in a very meaningful way and, to bring some proofs. How about, what I'm hearing a lot of is PCOS, polycystic ovary.
Polycystic ovary syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that more? Because I don't know if it's like because it's coming into my awareness more.
Yeah, I think again, it's allowing a conversation around toxins. So anyone that has PCOS that comes to see me, I'm asking them what they're putting in their body, what they're putting on their body, what's their environment, and it's such a lovely thing to be able to highlight for someone because they're just shocked. In fact, part of the work that I do now is again, I just follow the natural thread, but is home visits. So to be able to either virtually visit someone's home or physically visit someone's home to kind of look at. I start in the
What's
bathroom, and we have two boxes. And with their permission, they say, "Could you please just literally empty the bathroom?" And I said, "I'm gonna use this box for all the stuff that I would happily put on my skin. I would even eat it. And then the other one, mm-mm." And they are, but it's the visual impact. They
Yeah.
are horrified. I'll put back into the bathroom. Maybe they've got some coconut or something like that. And even then, if it's not, I'm like, and
It'll
again,
probably be one
it's
chunk.
right, but it could be a little bit better. But they're like, wow. I said, and that's daily. You're putting that stuff on your body daily. They'll go into the bedroom. They've got the perfumes. They've got all that going on. But it's kind of that. I'm a very visual person. Some people are very optic. They like to see the before and after. They're like, well, that is currently what we're looking
Beautiful.
at. And then there's, months will pass and we'll revisit it. And I said, we're not throwing anything out. We're just going to put that little toxic box. And then did you go back to that? And they're like, no. But also they've got this thing around things costing lots of money. I said, A, you can
Yeah.
make it.
I mean, it's
I'll give you a list of
it's
okay
way
things.
cheaper, isn't it, doing
Yeah.
it
And the
yourself?
cost of not doing it is you've got PCOS. So it's up to you. Everything's a choice.
Yeah.
Gets put more gracefully than that. But that is a massive thing, especially with women and hormones, because they do all the makeup,
Yeah.
they do all the body stuff. And again, to be able to have integrity and authenticity is to just go through that myself, to say, well, this is what works for me. I don't advocate any brands or anything, but it's because a lot of it's so natural and they're very small businesses that are producing this, and I love supporting that. So a lot of these things are easy to make, but again, removing that block, people are, well, I haven't got time to do that. So a list is created. They're like,
This is created. Yeah, brilliant. So I'm glad that we've gone onto the detox. So you can go onto our website, crystalwaterexperience.com, and the detox guide that I wrote is on there, and it very much mirrors what you're saying. I say to people, how do you know what's wrong with you until you take all the toxins out of your life? You just don't realize the impact, and there's all the toxins you can't control. I mean, I'd love to be able to 24/7 wear natural fibers. I try my best, but I'm not in, apart from my socks, I'm not in any today because that's kind of the what I can afford to wear today, right? That's what I've got.
that's what available.
And that's what is available, exactly. Yeah. So I'm often on the hunt for, natural materials. And I always say to Kelly, when we've really made it, we're going to have a whole wardrobe, we're going to have linen this and linen that. This is kind of like my dream. But there we go. So, but we try our best. But there's so many things you can do, and you just need to like do one thing a week.
Yeah.
And do you know how little money I spend now on cleaning products? I mean, because you were coming, Danielle, I actually mop the floor because it's like it's not my favourite thing to do. But now it's just literally hot water, white vinegar, some little bit of bicarb, and my favourite essential oil, which is organic. That's it,
Beautiful.
and that's what I pretty much clean everything with. It's like, and that's what you can get away with, like for 95% of
Yeah.
things. So that cuts down that toxic load. It's really important. So the detox card is free. You just have to sign up to be a standard member, which is free. We're trying to say here, guys, you need to look at that toxic load before you start treating the
Mm-hmm.
downline
Mm-hmm.
symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And then you work out what you're working with. And I would say my experience, reducing the toxic load, drinking clean water, energized water, like cures 50% of
Yeah.
things because it's toxic load
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then we work out the rest after you've done that.
Yeah, absolutely. I said you can keep doing all the things, but if the toxic load is there, it's, yeah. I mean, there's some things you can't avoid, I was just saying, just with like heavy metals, but again, lots of things you can do. Jo is again my little well of wisdom, and yeah, wherever I've got a little challenge, she's always got a solution. So I'm super grateful for Jo and Kelly and all the work that they're doing as well. But there's so much you can do, and it's just picking things that resonate with you, that are easy for you to do, simple for you to do. You don't have to turn your world upside down. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that I see on client forms when they fill them out, I'm thinking, wow, so much of that can be done. I don't even need to get involved. I just need to be able to share some information, and that's it. So you don't need to see me, but it's always lovely to just receive healing from hands in these hands. Absolutely love to do that, and that's what they're here to do. But they can't be on every human body around the world. So I'm again so grateful for energy work, frequency stuff. It's just, yeah, it's a game changer. An honor to
And
be able to
thank you
share.
so much for doing that. And your energy work is, really, really special. And that's why you get called. Like, I mean, you said yesterday, yeah, I am coming back to Australia in November, and everyone was like, yes, we've actually got a physical.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
So, so really grateful for you being here. Well, where's your website? What should...
Website is my name, so daniellerickwood.com. And yeah, pretty much everything that I offer as an experience is on there. Other stuff is more ad hoc, but you can also email me as well, and we'll put that in the show notes. So more than happy to. I do quick sort of discovery chats as well. So if you're not sure from looking at that what works for you, we can just unpack it a little bit, and I can perhaps guide you on what I feel would be best with the way that I work. So you never know. You don't have to. It's all a choice.
It's all a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Yeah. So all the website and all details will be in the show notes. So please have a look at that. And I hope if you're suffering with any of these kind of challenges, we only kind of dipped into kind of half of what Danielle does because, as I say, the belly area is like there's lots of things going on there. So
Loads of things going
loads
on.
of things. So that was just an example. So if you've got anything going on in there, I think the very practical and holistic, methods that she employs is really effective. So please reach out. You don't have to suffer,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to once you've got a label, live with that label. We had this conversation yesterday, didn't we, Danielle, about flipping labels.
Labels. 3D.
It's
Yes.
it's like, man,
Yes.
it doesn't work on so many different
Mm-hmm.
levels. So thank you very much for being on the show and sharing your wisdom, Danielle. I wonder if you would finish off
Mm-hmm.
with a message that you would leave the audience today.
I would love to share that it's absolutely okay to speak your truth, use your voice, to do it with what I call graceful assertion. You don't have to be aggressive, you don't have to be passive in your experience, but you can definitely gracefully assert yourself. And that comes with just informing yourself, getting involved in whatever aspect resonates with you most. Like Jo and K's courses, amazing. Just learn a little bit more so that you can enter conversations with people that you would normally perhaps be passive or aggressive with, and you can gracefully assert yourself, which is all that you can do.
Much more effective.
It's
Thank you so
beautiful.
much. That's
Yeah.
really empowering.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you very much for being on the show, Danielle. We've really
Thank
loved having
you.
you.
Lush being here. Love it.
And thank you everybody for listening to this podcast where I bring a new subject matter expert on a wide range of topics that you've probably maybe heard about but never really gone deep into before, so that hopefully while you're driving along or instead of just doom scrolling, you can learn something new that might make your life or your family's life a better place. And that's what we're here to do. Knowledge is power, everyone. Much love to you, and I'll see you on the next podcast. Bye bye.